Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. My name is Jerry, and thank you so much for returning for yet another episode here on Lawfolds. This is episode number 27, and we are just basically finishing up right where I left off in some off-camera work, finishing up the field that we were harvesting on canola, and of course we've got another field to harvest of canola. So we just need to go ahead and dump this into our grain silo. We switched out the tractor and got the John Deere behind the tipper now to give our JCB a bit of a break. We've got some maintenance that's being done on it. So hope you all are having a wonderful day. As you can kind of tell, let me just point out here something that just caught my eye, and I do apologize that I didn't bring this to your attention before. But of course, when we started episode number 26, it was a bit dark. It was just after 7 o'clock in the morning. But take a look at the fall colors there. Those trees have started to turn the brownish color there, and so that's one of the features of the Seasons mod. So not only does it do really wonderful things as far as the game is concerned itself, with the way that it controls the crop growth and the way that it controls the animal behaviors, such as how much water they consume in the summertime versus how much water they consume the rest of the time of the year, the fact that they won't consume things like grass in the wintertime, etc. Also, the beautiful fall colors is also another feature of the Seasons mod. So I've had quite a few questions regarding the Seasons mod in the last couple of days, and I just want to remind everyone that this mod is still very much a work in progress. Unfortunately, I can't tell you how to get the mod. The developers of the Seasons mod have asked those of us that are showcasing this mod, more or less they have given us pretty much explicit instructions not to share how to get it, how to install it, that sort of thing. We are free, obviously, to showcase the mod, and that's what we are all doing as best as possible here on our channels. And of course, we are into the first day of fall, and of course we are playing 3 game days per season. And so this represents September. So really, our goal for this episode is obviously going to get this field harvested. I've got a hired worker down. Let's see, a hired worker is down in field number 34 plowing that field. I'll have him move over to field 33 and then up to 32, and then obviously over probably to field 29 at some point, and go ahead and get those plowed. Of course, most likely we'll want to cultivate those before we get ready to replant them in the spring. But we are going to plant probably 2 fields with. Well, let's get on the correct side of the combine. How about we? But we will plant at least 2 fields, I believe, in a winter crop. Probably winter. Just looking here, winter barley could actually be planted this month. Winter wheat, we would need to wait until October. So we might do one of each. We could also plant. We could also plant a winter canola as well. So maybe we'll do 3. Maybe we'll do barley this game day, probably next episode, and then we'll do a wheat and a canola in October, and just see what that does, because again, it's kind of what we're sort of doing here is we are testing, but also we're learning how this wonderful mod works, and I'm quite impressed with it, and I hope that you are as well. But I do hope that you understand. I really do hate to say, no, I can't tell you where to get it, or how to install it, or any of that stuff. I do apologize. I know that probably all the other YouTube folks that are doing that are showcasing the Seasons mod probably feel the exact same way, because I think that, and I think I pointed this out in a few episodes ago, how that I will not play with mods, or I will not use mods on my map, on my Let's Plays that are not readily available to you all. So in other words, if somebody were to say to me, "Hey Jerry, I've got this beautiful, wonderful, perfectly functioning John Deere whatever," and I will tell you that John Deere is probably my favorite equipment manufacturer as far as agricultural type stuff goes. And but if they said to me, I've got this for you, I created it, and I created the mod or whatever, but you're free to use it. You're free to use it in your Let's Plays and everything, but don't share it with everyone. I won't use it. I won't use it in my Let's Plays. It's not to say that I might not use it in my own personal gameplays, but I might not even do that, because my memory sometimes is like Swiss cheese, especially after a good hard week or so, and so it's possible that I might forget and show it. But anyway, not interested in doing that. I sort of have an issue about private mods, because I really think that just hurts our community. I understand, of course, why some mod developers do sort of choose to go private, because obviously all of the frustration that they get from some potentially inconsiderate gamers cause them to kind of go underground and go private. But it doesn't help us at all. So, but this is an exception, because when I first started using the Seasons mod, the developers had not put the stipulations in place that would restrict us from sharing it. So I created a mod review on the Seasons mod and put it out there. It became a fairly popular video for obvious reasons. And then all of a sudden I was contacted by the development team and was initially asked to take the video down, and then some additional discussion between this individual and myself through email. Basically, he informed me that they were making some changes to the restrictions and the instructions that we would have, those of us that were actually showcasing the mod on YouTube, and just asked if I would remove the link on where to get the mod, and also remove the portion of my video that talked about how to install it. And so, obviously, being a stand-up guy that I am, not to brag, but that's just how I am. It's how I'm going to run this channel. And being that type of person, I complied with that 100%. And I've had people email me. I've had people comment asking me how to get it. I'm sorry, I just cannot tell you, because all I can say is wonderful progress is being made. About 2 or 3 weeks went by and I didn't have an update for the Seasons mod. We got an update just a few days ago, actually, and lots of different cool features. I think I pointed one out in the episode before, where you can now select between Celsius and Fahrenheit. So if you're not into the whole Celsius thing, not to worry. You've got Fahrenheit to be able to tell you temperatures and all that kind of stuff. So so I think that might be a good game plan to go with, is just kind of do one field of barley, one field of wheat, and one field of canola. And obviously the wheat and the barley, of course, will help us as we might need straw in the late spring, early summer time frame, whenever that field is mature and we can actually cut it. And then also, of course, some money might be available, obviously, in the form of selling those crops when we harvest them. So all good stuff, all good stuff. Just some additional information. You're most likely not going to get an episode on Saturday. Saturday the 25th of February, nor will you get an episode on the 26th, Sunday. Of course, you're not going to necessarily know this until Monday, because I'm going to basically hold this episode until Monday. Primarily because I'm a bit busy towards the end of this week. I'm actually recording this episode on Wednesday the 22nd of February. But we'll make, obviously you've got episodes on Thursday, Friday, and then of course like I said, we're going to skip Saturday, Sunday, and I will get back with you on Monday. I am thinking, and I know I said I wasn't necessarily going to do that, and I know that sometimes my wife tells me when I start thinking I can become quite dangerous. I am thinking about starting another series. I am really sort of itching to play Stevie's Pine Cove Farm with a little more intensity than the few times that I jump on the multiplayer server when folks are available and online. I have played pretty much every Stevie map that has come out since the FS15 days. I think my very first taste of a Stevie map was probably with his Westbridge Hills remake, and I can't think of what the name of it was. It might have been something about Westbridge, but anyway, you all know if you've been playing Stevie's maps for a while, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And my apologies that I cannot remember what the name of that map is as I turn that off and open up the pipe, and we'll just drive the combine over to the trailer here because we can. We'll just spin it around here as to not drive on the plowed field, but I'm wanting to do that. I actually started setting it up and everything several weeks ago with the idea that I was going to start a Let's Play on it. It was going to kind of be the third map, but then I started realizing that it was hard enough for me to keep up with 2. 3 was going to be kind of impossible. I know I talked about the fact that, well, it's a large map, it's large fields and everything, but I'm sort of itching to play it with some really big equipment and multiples of equipment and just kind of do something different. I've been playing, ever since I sort of stopped Goldcrest Valley, Stevie's edit of Goldcrest Valley. I've been playing smaller maps. I played Old Streams for a period of time. I then moved over to this map, and then of course Coldwell Park Farm, and I think I'm just really excited about playing a US based map. I will admit that while I sort of appreciate the challenge of irregular shaped fields and that sort of thing, I also enjoy this traditional square rectangular fields, lots of room at the end of the field and such. And Pine Cove Farm is a beautiful map. While it's somewhat based on Goldcrest Valley, and I know I said that I wasn't interested in playing any more just Goldcrest remake, Stevie did such a beautiful job of that map, and I want to play it. I want to play it with a degree of intensity, that I have sort of played all of Stevie's maps, and that being no exception. So I think, again, what I'm going to do is it'll be the map that I probably do a lot of course play work, a lot of either auto combine or just regular in-game FS17 hired worker, it'll be, I think, a good map to truly test auto combine and truly test, course play and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sort of, even with Coldwell Park Farm, I really didn't do a lot of that automated stuff. I really tried to do everything myself, and with the exception of like plowing, which obviously I've done, I've set up plow routes on most of the fields for course play, and of course I did set up a route to sell wheat, I think it was, or maybe it was barley, but anyway, I did set that up, and I used course play for that just because there was about 5 trips required to take advantage of the great demand, and clearly I most likely will probably, well, I don't know how many trips we'll actually have with canola, but we need to sell our canola before noon, because that is when the great demand ends, and we certainly don't want to lose that price. But so I think that what will happen is I think that I will start playing Pine Cove Farm, Stevie's map, and you're going to start seeing that on this channel. So it will be sort of as I was doing Coldwell Park Farm before. It'll be 2 or 3 episodes of Pine Cove Farm and 2 or 3 episodes of this map. I'm not going to commit to any number of episodes per week. It's going to just kind of be what I feel like I can do. But I think that this map is relatively small enough that I can do most of the things that I need to do in the course of the video, and then it's a little bit of off-camera work, and then with Pine Cove, obviously the fields are much larger and everything, but I can do multiple equipments, multiple combines, multiple plows, multiple seeders, etc. There's a whole bunch of other things that we can do on Pine Cove. The compost facility, the animal mixing stuff, and it'll kind of be a little bit of a break from the normal, mowing and baling and creating silage bales and all that kind of stuff. We can obviously we will still mow, but we'll probably use the Corona Big M, if I can pry that away from Doug Zorley long enough to get it onto our map. And so that's what I think I'm going to do, and I'm going to start sort of getting that map set up. It's one of the reasons why I'm going to delay this episode until Monday. Just that way I've got some time over the weekend to create a few videos on this map, Lawfolds, as well as maybe a video or 2 on Pine Cove. And it'll be different. I'm not going to necessarily do Pine Cove in career mode necessarily, just simply because of this, and I will probably talk about this again during the Pine Cove series. But the way Seasons Mod works, when you add Seasons Mod, obviously one of the things that the developers will tell you about the Seasons Mod is don't try to insert the mod into an already existing game save. So basically, when you decide to use Seasons Mod, at least the way that it's currently developed, set up, and everything, is you want to make sure that it's a brand new game save, because it really does, it makes a lot of modifications. It changes a lot of things. So obviously, with a map like Pine Cove Farm, Stevie gives you several fields that already, well, basically you start off owning one field. We're not going to do that. We're going to own more than just one field, because again, kind of with seasons, we're going to start in the spring, and I'm probably going to plow everything under, try to plow as much as I can on the first game day, because depending on the weather and everything, you don't want to plan anything on the first game day anyway, just because you do run the risk of having early freeze. So we will most likely plow all the fields that we're going to own. We're probably going to start off owning probably 5 or 6 fields, just so that we can get a variety of crops planted. So obviously we'll be sort of picking up where it's an existing, farm, and doing it that way. Because otherwise, with seasons, if you play the map as it's sort of configured, and this is, Lawfolds is a good map to do seasons on, because they're generous with the amount of fields that they start you off with. But with Pine Cove, Stevie starts you off with 1 field. Well, it would take, even if you just did even if I just did 1 episode per game day, it would take us 12 episodes to get through the first year. And then will we have enough money from the harvest of the first crop, playing around with compost, playing around with doing missions and stuff like that, to be able to afford another field? I think it would be a bit of a challenge. I think it would be quite difficult to achieve that. And so I'm going to go ahead and go empty here. So we are going to kind of customize things just a bit. And so, this is more, yes, I'm doing Lawfolds. I'm really trying to do Lawfolds in career mode, just because, I've actually only done that once with Farm Sim 17, and that was when I first started playing Goldcrest Valley after it came out. And as I've said many times, there's no right or wrong way to play the game. It's whatever you want to get out of it is obviously what you put into it. And I enjoy playing. I enjoy just playing the game, planting, harvesting, all that kind of stuff, and not necessarily so much of career building, is what I'm trying to say. So we'll see how it goes. But I quite like that map, and I want to spend time playing Stevie's map, because right now there's a couple of there's a new Irish map that's coming out very soon. Shawnee B has been covering that map, and it looks really nice. It really does. I think it's going to be a fantastic map. I think it's going to be very similar to Lawfolds, as far as just the beauty of the map and how much hard work and everything has gone into it. But it's a British, Irish style map, and I've done those quite a bit, and I do enjoy that. But I think what I want to do is I want to see Lawfolds out a little bit further. So maybe into spring, into maybe summer of the next season, just to kind of get more under our belt, so to speak, with the seasons mod, and then just kind of see what other maps are out there at that particular point in time. And then of course we've got Cattle and Crops. That is, that early access is looming on the horizon. We are anywhere from a week to 4 or 5 weeks away from the release of that. Of course, I think if I were a betting man, I would probably say that it would be closer to the 5-week, toward the end of March, if not even early April, before it's available. And of course, you're not going to hear me get overly impatient or upset or anything like that if Cattle and Crops is a week or two after, into April, before it's released, because we want it to be stable. I've been doing some reading on the Cattle and Crops forums. I watch several YouTubers. Mr. Moose is one. YouTuber that I do watch on a fairly regular basis, and I think his series on Pine Cove Farm is kind of what has piqued my interest on that particular map. And I'm not going to necessarily mock anything that he's doing with his series, but I think just kind of watching him play it has sort of excited me and piqued my interest into doing a single player series of that map. And so I think that's kind of why. But I was listening to him, one of his episodes on Pine Cove Farm, and he was talking about the fact that he had been out looking around on the Cattle and Crops forums, and he sort of was talking, I won't say the word complaining, he was certainly maybe a little bit frustrated in some of the comments that were being left, some of the suggestions that were being talked about on the forums. You know, people have already sort of suggested or asked or requested that, you know, forestry be added to cattle and crops. Well, and I've got to say that you know, I don't always agree with other YouTube personalities and their view on certain things, and there are a few things that I actually do disagree with Mr. Moose on, one of which is his view on why Stevie removed the silage clamp at the main farm. But anyway, that's a different conversation for a different time. But I do agree with what Mr. Moose said with regards to forestry and cattle and crops. And for me, I invested in cattle and crops because I want a very solid, very immersive, very in-depth agricultural type simulation. I don't necessarily care if there is forestry as sort of a secondary kind of thing, but I would almost rather see cattle and crops come out and blow everybody's minds away on the way that they have created the agricultural piece of it. And I'm talking about cattle and crops, not cattle, crops, and, you know, cutting, as I think somebody referenced it, but the agricultural side of things. And then, you know, a year down the road, 2 years down the road, maybe introduce forestry to a certain extent. Because as I've said before, and I will stand by what I say, what I believe, because hey, it's my opinion, and I'm certainly entitled to that. But as far as the type of forestry that we see in Farm Sim 15, Farm Sim 17, the average type of farmer that does this type of work, so planting, fertilizing, harvesting, animal husbandry, etc., is not also doing the level of forestry that is depicted in this game. Yes, it is very true, and people that argue the point and say, yes, but you know, farmers will cut trees and cut limbs and maybe clear a new pasture or clear a new field or something. That is absolutely accurate. That is absolutely true. But they're not going to be using, you know, they're not going to be clearing vast amounts of woodlands using, you know, the big Ponzi, you know, buffalo and scorpion and that kind of equipment, which that stuff is absolutely fun to use in the game. I actually prefer using the scorpion because it's about the only way that I can cut trees and stuff down with any degree of accuracy and without getting so frustrated that I finally say, well, you know, forget this, I'm going to go back to harvesting and seeding and fertilizing and whatever. But I just don't think that they're doing that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, they will trim a branch if one needs to be trimmed, or they'll cut a tree if a tree needs to be cut, because that's just the type of people that they are, and they are obviously very, they're very, very industrious. But as far as running, large-scale logging operations and everything, in addition to farming, I just don't think that. It's certainly not, I mean, I'm not going to say that no one's doing it, but it's certainly not being done at any sort of grand scale. All right, well, this field did not take long to harvest at all. We're about 30 minutes in, but I think what we will do is we will, at the very least, go ahead and empty our combine, and I think we will drive our tipper and tractor up to the main silo, and then go ahead and fill up a full load of canola, if we don't top it off here, and I don't think we will. As I get a drink of my iced tea, and we will at least sell one load of canola on this episode, and we're doing pretty good. I mean, 9 o'clock, we still have a few 3 hours to spare. We'll go ahead and fold our combine up, lower our header down, and turn her off. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take our tipper, and we will just go and top this guy off with canola. And we will check our prices just to make sure that we're going to be selling to the correct location. It will be worth it. I was thinking, well, we could just go ahead and drive from here to the sell point, but let's just go ahead and go and fill this tipper all the way up. And that way we'll kind of get a general idea as to how much we can expect to get for our canola. It's possible that this little John Deere is a bit too underpowered for this, so I think I will just drop the John Deere off, and bear with me, and we'll get the JCB back under this thing. I think the JCB has just a little bit more horsepower than this John Deere, even though I think I upgraded the John Deere engine. I believe I did. Let's just quickly. Okay, let me. I know I showed you this, and I'm going to let this episode run just a bit longer, so just bear with me. I do want to show you guys this stuff here. So this is our little maintenance shop right here. So we're just going to turn our guy off. We're going to get out, and we need to turn on our F1 menu. And if we kind of get in the right place here, there we go. So left R to maintain our John Deere 7030 Premium for $42. So left Alt and R, and we'll say yes, and he has been maintained. And so if we go back in here, we'll see that we've got 30 hours or 6 days until maintenance is required. So cool stuff. That's how that works. And of course we still have our I think it's a little Steyr tractor that we're going to basically sacrifice and see what happens if we don't do maintenance on it, so that we can kind of see. But remember, I told you, I think the last episode, that I did park it in the maintenance facility, or the maintenance shed at the sheep farm, and so that way I should be able to just do maintenance inside of that, and not actually have to, because my worry is if it was stuck out on a field or someplace, I might have to actually sell it to get service on it. But we'll see how that goes. I guess I forgot, canola is just this tractor's not really pulling this all that better. than the John Deere, but I guess canola by weight is a little bit heavier, and of course I do have that that dynamic mass mod installed, which makes everything just a little bit heavier. So let's just double check our sell point here. Canola, Highland Grains, Aberdeen Grains, 1887. That's where we want to carry that. So where is Aberdeen Grains? Aberdeen Grains is way up there, and I don't even think I've ever been up to that portion of the map. So let's go up there. Let's go up there together. Let's see if we can figure out how to get there, and then we'll sell this and call this an episode. And this will go just a little bit longer than normal, but you know, I shortchanged you all a couple of episodes ago. I think I gave you like a 20-minute episode, so shame on me for doing that, and we will try to do a little bit better job of giving you your full 30 minutes at least, if not maybe a little bit more. So I think what I need to do is obviously stay on the road, but I believe I just need to go like I would normally go to the store, but then instead of turning left I need to turn right. Or I guess I could go ahead and take this all the way down. We'll do that. We'll take this all the way down and then hit the junction down here. But anyway, more about the Cattle and Crops Forum. You know, those of us that are participating in the early access and the crowdfunding portion, we got early access to their forum. And one of the things, you know, Mr. Moose said something about he really didn't understand why they would give folks early access, and I actually do understand why they would do that, because obviously they want to try to build up a little bit of hype and get people to appreciate the fact that they are serious about supporting the game, supporting the early adopters, what have you. So I'm very appreciative to that fact. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of, you know, people requesting things, you know, talking about various must-have type mods and stuff like that. And I say, you know, let's give Cattle and Crops time to more or less prove to us that they're going to do all this stuff anyway, because I have a feeling that a lot of maybe things that we might consider to be must-have mods might actually get built into the game. I wouldn't be surprised if the GPS mod isn't built into the game, or that functionality isn't built into the game. And I don't know that for sure, but I do know that the developer behind the GPS mod for Farm Sim series is actually working with Cattle and Crops as we struggle to get up this little hill. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it's, you know, if it's not going to be a feature that is going to be either, you know, you can enable it, or maybe it's a, you know, you have to purchase the module from the store when you purchase your equipment, so you get an option. You know, do I want this tractor to be GPS enabled? It's an extra, you know, $500 or $1,000 or whatever the cost is for that that system, and then it, you know, it gets put into the tractor or whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud here. And so here we are. We're at Aberdeen Grains. Can we not get... Oh, maybe we can't get in this gate. Maybe it's this other gate. That might make sense. Alright, cool. I was thinking, okay, well maybe there's a time of day thing. Wasn't sure. I guess we should have probably driven across the scales there, but we obviously missed that opportunity. So instead we will just swing around here, and as we go disappear behind the magic curtain there, because we're at the edge of the map, we will turn off our turn signals. We'll back up just a little bit because this is going to be a good opportunity for a screenshot, I do believe. And we will start selling. And we'll grab our screenshot. Whoa! Okay, gotta love that. That's going to cause problems. Alright, well, I'm going to end this episode here while I figure out how to sort this out. Clearly, I was maybe a little bit too close under the underhang, the trailer. I probably should have just done the rear door. I'll get this sorted out here and get our canola sold, and then obviously keep that in mind for future trips to this sell point. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate that, and hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead, and I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye now.